provided showing places, but also even more than that, magazines don't exist without galleries. 40% of an art magazine is gallery ads. And maybe we weren't so conscious of that, that the fact that we needed magazines, we were resorting to the gallery, whether we realized it or not. So yeah, we depended on the gallery. I think in my case, maybe especially because in any other context, what I was doing needed a gallery or museum in order to be justified. Probably many people in the world were doing what I was doing, but they were doing it in an insane asylum, in a mental hospital. I was doing it under the auspices of a gallery or museum, so it became a kind of validity. But there's a funny time lag with art. A piece I did in 1972, Seedbed became relatively notorious, this masturbation piece under a ramp. But people were fucking in the streets in 1965. To masturbate under a ramp was a very, very, very minor thing as far as the world was concerned. The world had already changed, and art always tries to keep up with the world. A lot of us at that time probably would have objected to the word self-expression, because we wanted to be an instrument of the world. We didn't want to necessarily express ourselves. We wanted to refine the world through ourselves. So maybe it's not so different. So for me, minimal led very directly to the work I was doing. Minimal art was the kind of father art for me. Minimal art made me rediscover the space around the art. Before minimal art, I had either learned or been taught to look what was within the frame. With minimal art, the frame expanded. You would walk into a gallery and you would notice everything because you weren't quite sure what the art was. You would notice a light socket because that might be part of the art. You weren't really sure. So that kind of expansion, I think, led very much to conceptual art. I was desperately trying to find a way for myself in the middle of actual space. I necessarily had to do a lot of pieces, but there were probably periods between pieces. Then my work was totally solitary. Then, when I thought of a camera, or I thought of a film camera or a video camera, I never thought in terms of a camera person. The camera person would almost spoil it. The early work was I trying to be alone with myself, so the camera had to be there and then me. It becomes harder to read now than it did then, but that might be the time. It's very difficult to read in a computer world. Reading is a private activity.